It's time for the Sheffield Ref Show. Keith Hackett and Brian Dean are here. Great. Dino, it's great to have you. It's so topical because the big talking point for us is Sheffield United and those playoffs.
Yeah.
There was no great mood of celebration, was there, about them actually getting in them?
No, I think for a while they've been up in the top six for most of the season, really. Obviously, the disappointment I think for most people is the fact that they've not made it into the top two. While all of the cup runs were going on, I know that the main concern was to try and get into the top two places. So that they now have to get themselves in a situation where they have to prepare to play one of perhaps three teams in the first leg.
Yeah, the atmosphere is not entirely conducive because of this overhang of disappointment and frustration at Bramall Lane. It's not really a good atmosphere. Somehow the fans and players have got to somehow remove that.
Yeah, I think that their expectation is they'd like to see more. I think fans would like to see more goals. And I think that they've seen Nigel at times, quite rightly, go for points and take a defensive sort of role. However, I think when we come to the playoffs, we do know that Sheffield United are a great team. Not necessarily in playoffs historically, but we do know that they're a good cup team. And they've proven that this year with their games at Southampton and Spurs, isn't it?
That's a great point. Will that help them in the big game scenarios, Keith, in the cup ties? They've been phenomenal this season and last season.
Yeah, well, they've got probably one of the biggest squads in the league, and he can change it up a bit. So that will definitely help. I think you look at the teams who they potentially can play against, and Preston, I think, are very strong. MK Dons are a good side, and I think if they're going to be playing a team to get to Wembley, then Swindon's the one because they're a little bit out of form. They've beaten them already. I went to that game when I thought Swindon they played very well, Swindon, but they didn't get the breaks. But I think that's probably the best case scenario right now.
So we've got to hope, you're hoping that Preston get automatic.
Yeah, I am.
They're a very strong team physically, apart from anything else, aren't
they? And again, I saw when they played against the Blades down at Bramall Lane in the Cup, and they just had that physical presence. They had Kevin Davies up front, who's big and strong and experienced. They had Kilkenny midfield. They had Garner. They had a good rounded side, and then you're not even talking about Beckford or Johnson, who are now in the team and playing. Johnson, I see, he's a kind of player who's very central to everything that's happening. So you're talking about a team who are probably going to need the least spending if they do get promoted.
Keith, you're an owl.
Yes.
You wouldn't deny or deprive Sheffield United of promotion, would you?
Oh, I want to see Sheffield United promoted because then we get the local derbies, which are always like terrific matches. And I think that sort of, if you like, town clash, the city clash between having two teams in the same competition is good for both clubs. Certainly great for spectators.
Sparks it off, sparks the whole
Absolutely.
scene off. At a time when Sheffield Wednesday have new investment, new owner, season's fizzling out now, let's be honest. You saw them lose 2-1 to Leeds at the weekend. Some kind of an overhaul, I would have thought, with a lot of players out of contract.
Well, we know the pitch is getting overhauled, which is great. I passed this morning and saw the tractors already in, ready to go for that. I think that Stuart Gray has done a terrific job. Now it's who they're going to bring in, because I think they need a change. I think that, like most teams, they need some forwards who can regularly pop it in the back of the net.
It needs freshening up, but that's the most expensive position of all, isn't it, Brian? Just getting those players in those forward positions.
It is, definitely, and especially you're looking at a Championship. To make an impact, you're going to have to spend some money.
Yeah. Sheffield United, we forgot to mention, but they drew 1-1 at Orient, which was immaterial for them in the end last weekend. They got in the playoffs anyway. There were 7 yellow cards in that, 4 of them to Blades players. Looking ahead to the playoff games, what sort of a referee benefits the playoff games, do you think? What type of referee?
Well, I think you need an experienced referee because these are like FA Cup semi-finals. Every game's a semi-final. So you need an experienced guy, but you need someone who's mobile and can get in quickly if it sparks, because there's just that extra edge, but with the players who are wanting to win. And then, of course, there's the risk in second legs where this frustration comes in that we're not going to go through. And then sometimes players lose self-control. So it's about the referees preparing for the two teams that they're going to officiate, preparing well, and then allowing the games to breathe.
Because they are cup ties, almost local derbies. They're not local derbies actually, but in nature, that's the kind of things they are. Yeah. We look forward to those. Brian and Keith, thanks very much indeed. See you again for another Sheffield Ref Show next week. Bye. See you then.